Chapter 1: The Mysterious Old Man. Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled among rolling hills, there lived an old man named Elijah. Elijah was known far and wide as the village's eccentric elder. He had a long, flowing white beard, and his eyes sparkled with wisdom and mystery. But what made him truly unique was his magical book. This book, bound in worn leather and filled with ancient symbols, was rumored to possess incredible powers. Elijah rarely spoke of it, but everyone knew that it held secrets beyond imagination. Some said it could heal the sick, while others believed it could predict the weather. One chilly autumn evening, a curious boy named Thomas approached Elijah's humble cottage. He had heard tales of the magical book and had always wanted to meet the old man. With a determined heart, he knocked on the creaky wooden door. Elijah opened the door, his eyes twinkling as he saw the young boy. "Ah, young Thomas," he greeted, his voice like a gentle breeze. "What brings you here today? I've heard stories about your magical book." Thomas stammered, feeling a bit nervous. "Is it true?" Elijah chuckled softly. "It's more than just a book, my dear boy. It holds the power to change the world, but that power comes with great responsibility." Chapter 2: Elijah's Revelation. Elijah invited Thomas inside, and they sat by the warm, crackling fire. The old man began to tell the boy about the book's history and its incredible abilities. He explained how it could heal the sick, calm storms, and even mend broken hearts. But there was a catch. "You see, Thomas," Elijah said with a solemn expression, "this book can only be passed on to someone who is pure of heart and has a strong desire to help others." Thomas listened intently, his eyes filled with wonder. "But what happens when the person who possesses the book dies?" Elijah's gaze became distant, as if he were peering into the depths of time itself. "When the time comes for me to depart this world, I will pass the book on to someone worthy. And, my dear boy, that someone is you." Thomas's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Me? But I'm just a simple village boy." Elijah smiled kindly. "Sometimes, it's the simplest of hearts that can change the world the most. You must promise me, Thomas, that you will use the book's powers for good, to help those in need and to make the world a better place." With tears in his eyes, Thomas nodded. "I promise, Elijah. I will do my best to honor your legacy and help others." As the years passed, Elijah and Thomas spent many hours together, and the old man taught the boy the secrets of the magical book. Little did they know that their journey would take them on adventures beyond their wildest dreams, as they worked together to fulfill Elijah's vision of a better world. Chapter 3: The Power Unveiled. As Thomas continued to learn from Elijah, he discovered the incredible capabilities of the magical book. One sunny morning, Elijah and Thomas ventured to the village square, where a terrible drought had left the land parched and the crops withered. Elijah handed the book to Thomas and said, "Now, my dear boy, it's time to put your knowledge to the test. Open the book and speak from your heart." Thomas took a deep breath, his heart pounding with anticipation. He opened the book's pages and began to recite a heartfelt plea for rain. To his amazement, the sky darkened, and raindrops began to fall, nourishing the thirsty earth. The villagers cheered, and Thomas realized the true power of the book. From that day forward, Thomas used the book's magic to help the village in countless ways. He healed the sick, mended broken bridges, and even stopped a wildfire from spreading. The villagers grew to love and admire him for his selfless acts of kindness. Chapter 4: The Great Responsibility. As Thomas continued to use the magical book to help his community, word of his deeds spread far and wide. People from neighboring villages came to seek his aid, and his reputation as a benevolent guardian of the book grew. One day, an envoy from a distant kingdom arrived in the village. They sought Thomas's help to end a long-standing conflict that had ravaged their land. Thomas knew that with the book's power, he could make a real difference in the world. But he also remembered Elijah's words about responsibility. He sought advice from the village elders, who reminded him that true power should be used wisely and for the greater good. With a heavy heart, Thomas agreed to help the kingdom, hoping to bring peace to their troubled land. The journey was perilous, and the challenges were great, but Thomas and the magical book worked together to bring about a resolution that brought tears of joy to the people of the warring kingdom. Yet, Thomas always remained humble and true to his promise to Elijah. As he returned to his own village, he knew that he was just beginning to understand the immense responsibility that came with the book's power. With Elijah's guidance and his own pure heart, he was determined to use the book's magic to make the world a better place. One act of kindness at a time. Chapter 5, The World Beckons. After successfully bringing peace to the distant kingdom, Thomas's fame as a kind-hearted and wise guardian of the magical book continued to grow. News of his deeds spread to lands far and wide, and people from all corners of the world sought his help. One day, a letter arrived from a distant land suffering from a terrible famine. Their crops had failed, and their people were starving. Thomas knew he had to act quickly. With the book's guidance, he set out on a journey to the famine-stricken land. When he arrived, Thomas used the book's powers to replenish the fields, and soon, the once barren land was flourishing with crops. The people of the famine-stricken land were overjoyed, and they praised Thomas as their savior. As he traveled, Thomas encountered countless challenges and opportunities to make the world a better place. He helped build schools, provide medicine to the sick, and promote understanding among different cultures. But with each act of kindness, he also felt the weight of the book's responsibility on his shoulders. Chapter 6, The Legacy continues. As the years passed, Thomas became known as a legendary figure, a symbol of hope and compassion. He had visited countless lands, touched countless lives, and left a trail of positivity in his wake. One day, while sitting under a starlit sky, Thomas received a message in his dreams. It was Elijah, his wise mentor from years past. Elijah spoke to him, saying, "My dear Thomas, you have fulfilled your promise and used the magical book to help the world. Now, it is time for you to pass it on, just as I passed it on to you." With a heavy heart, Thomas realized that the time had come for him to find a new guardian for the magical book. He knew he couldn't keep it forever, and he wanted to ensure that its powers continued to be used for good. Thomas began his search for a worthy successor, seeking someone with a pure heart and a strong desire to make the world a better place, just as he had once been chosen by Elijah. His journey took him to villages and cities, where he met many hopeful candidates. As he continued his quest, Thomas knew that his role as the guardian of the magical book was not ending but evolving. He would pass on the book's legacy to the next generation, ensuring that the world would always have a guardian of kindness, compassion, and hope. And so, the story of the magical book's power and responsibility continued, as the legacy of Elijah and Thomas lived on. Chapter 7, The Chosen One. Thomas traveled far and wide, meeting countless people in his search for the next guardian of the magical book. He met brave warriors, wise scholars, and compassionate healers, but he was searching for something more than skills or knowledge. He was looking for a heart as pure and selfless as his own. One day, while passing through a small village nestled in a lush valley, Thomas met a young girl named Emily. She had a radiant smile and a heart full of kindness. She often helped the less fortunate in her village, and her acts of compassion were known far and wide. Thomas spent time with Emily, sharing stories of his adventures and the responsibilities that came with the magical book. He saw in her the same desire to make the world a better place that had driven him for so many years. Emily's eyes sparkled with curiosity and determination, and Thomas knew he had found the one. With a warm and proud heart, he entrusted the magical book to Emily, just as Elijah had done for him all those years ago. He said, "Emily, you are the chosen one. Use this book's powers wisely and with love in your heart, and it will guide you to bring light to the darkest corners of the world." Emily accepted the responsibility with humility and gratitude, and as she held the magical book in her hands, she felt its ancient power flow through her. Chapter 8, A New Beginning. With the magical book now in Emily's care, Thomas knew that his mission was complete. He watched as Emily embarked on her own journey, using the book's magic to heal, protect, and inspire those in need. As time passed, the world continued to face challenges, but Emily's selflessness and determination brought hope and change wherever she went. She used the book's powers to promote peace, nurture the environment, and create a world where kindness and understanding prevailed. Thomas, now an old man, watched Emily's adventures from a distance, filled with pride and contentment. He knew that he had made the right choice in passing on the magical book to such a worthy successor. His heart was at peace, knowing that the legacy of the book would continue for generations to come. And so, the story of the magical book, its guardians, and the responsibility that came with its powers continued to unfold. Through the ages, it would remind the world that with great power comes even greater responsibility. And that kindness and compassion could change the world for the better. Chapter 9, A Legacy of Light. Years turned into decades, and Emily remained a beacon of hope and goodness in a world that sometimes seemed dark and troubled. She had used the magical book to mend broken friendships, protect endangered species, and inspire leaders to seek peaceful resolutions to conflicts. The story of Emily and the magical book spread throughout the world, inspiring countless others to perform acts of kindness and make a positive impact. The book became a symbol of the potential for good that resided in the hearts of every person, reminding them of their duty to help others and protect the world they shared. Emily herself grew older but never lost her spirit of compassion. She continued to guide and mentor young souls who aspired to follow in her footsteps. And as she watched the next generation of guardians bloom, she knew that the world was in good hands. Chapter 10, The End and a Lesson for the World. In the twilight of her life, Emily gathered people from all corners of the earth, those she had touched directly or those who had been inspired by her story. They came together to celebrate her remarkable journey and the enduring legacy of the magical book. With tears of gratitude in her eyes, Emily addressed the gathering. She said, "My dear friends, our world is a tapestry woven from the threads of countless lives and acts of kindness. The magical book has shown us that each of us possesses the power to make a difference, no matter how small we may feel. The true magic lies in the love, compassion, and empathy we offer to one another." She continued, "As we part ways today, let us remember that the responsibility to make the world a better place rests on all our shoulders. It is not the magic of a book but the magic within our hearts that can truly transform the world. Let us be kind, let us be generous, and let us be the change we wish to see." The gathered crowd nodded in agreement, their hearts filled with the wisdom of Emily's words. They left that day with renewed determination to make the world a kinder and better place, one act of goodness at a time. And so, the legacy of the magical book lived on, not just in the pages of an old tome, but in the hearts of people everywhere. The world learned the invaluable lesson that kindness, compassion, and responsibility could bring light to even the darkest of times, and that together, they could create a brighter, more beautiful future for all.